You think you are choosing people, but most of the time, you are choosing emotional environments that already feel familiar. That is why some people enter your life and immediately feel important. Not because they are safe, not because they are healthy, because something inside you already recognizes them. The distance, the inconsistency, the emotional unpredictability, the feeling that closeness must be earned instead of received naturally. Your mind already understands that atmosphere, and recognition is powerful, even when it hurts you, sometimes especially when it hurts you. Because the human mind does not automatically search for happiness, it searches for familiarity. That is the pattern most people never realize they are trapped inside. You can know someone is wrong for you. You can notice the manipulation. You can feel your body becoming exhausted around them and still feel emotionally pulled back toward them. Not because you enjoy suffering, because part of you learned a long time ago that instability is what connection feels like. And once emotional chaos becomes associated with intimacy, calmness can start feeling emotionally empty. That is why toxic patterns rarely feel toxic in the beginning. They feel intense, important, alive. There is often a strange emotional acceleration, a feeling that this person matters before trust even exists. People call that chemistry, but chemistry is not always compatibility. Sometimes chemistry is recognition. Sometimes attraction is simply your emotional world recognizing an atmosphere it already learned how to survive inside. That is why emotionally unavailable people can feel strangely magnetic. Your mind mistakes emotional unpredictability for emotional depth, because unpredictability creates hypervigilance, and hypervigilance creates obsession. You start monitoring texts, tone changes, distance, silence, facial expressions. Your emotional attention becomes completely consumed, and the brain interprets emotional preoccupation as importance. That is one of the most dangerous psychological illusions in relationships. The more emotionally unstable the environment becomes, the more psychologically significant it can start to feel. Not because the connection is deeper, because survival systems are becoming activated. A lot of people learned this pattern very early. They learned that love was something conditional, something unstable, something that could disappear without warning. So instead of learning how to feel emotionally safe with someone, they learned how to emotionally perform for someone. You learn to become useful, easy, needed, emotionally adaptive. You learn to monitor moods before your own needs. You learn to apologize quickly. You learn to avoid becoming difficult. And eventually you stop asking, "Do I feel safe here?" Instead, you ask, "How do I keep this person from leaving?" That shift changes your entire emotional reality. Because once abandonment becomes the central fear, unhealthy relationships stop feeling unhealthy. They start feeling emotionally necessary. The uncertainty creates attachment. The inconsistency creates craving. The brief moments of affection create relief. And a relief can feel almost identical to love when your emotional world has spent years preparing for pain. That is why some people confuse peace with boredom. Healthy connection can initially feel emotionally unfamiliar, too steady, too calm, too available. There is no emotional chase, no guessing game, no constant fear that one mistake will suddenly destroy the connection. And because the mind is no longer trapped in survival mode, the relationship can temporarily feel emotionally flat. Not because something is missing, because chaos is missing. That is the part people rarely understand. Sometimes healing feels emotionally wrong before it feels emotionally safe. So people return to intensity again and again and again, until eventually they believe, this is just who I am. But most toxic patterns are not personality traits, they are adaptations. You were not born needing emotionally unavailable people. You adapted to emotional distance. You were not born afraid to express needs. You adapted to emotional inconsistency. You were not born believing love must be earned through suffering. You learned it slowly, quietly, repeatedly. And because these patterns form during emotionally vulnerable moments, they often feel permanent. But they are not permanent, they are practiced. That is why relationships can start repeating with almost mathematical precision. Different person, same emotional outcome, different beginning, same emotional confusion, different promises, same loneliness. And eventually something inside you begins to fracture, because repeating toxic patterns does not only damage relationships, it damages identity. You begin questioning your judgment, your worth, your emotional reality. You stop trusting your own perception. You start believing, maybe I am impossible to love correctly. And once someone believes that, they begin tolerating emotional conditions that slowly erase them. Disrespect, neglect, emotional inconsistency, half-love disguised as connection. Not because it feels good, because it feels familiar. And familiarity is seductive, especially when loneliness feels unbearable. That is why people often return to relationships that already destroyed them. Not because the pain disappeared, because separation activated something even deeper. The fear that abandonment confirms their deepest belief about themselves. That they were never truly worth staying for. So they return, not always to the person, but to the emotional pattern. The known instability, the familiar uncertainty, the same emotional wound wearing a different face. And survival can feel strangely comforting even while it is destroying you. That is the hidden tragedy of toxic patterns. The mind can become emotionally attached to what hurts it if that pain once felt psychologically necessary. And over time, survival behaviors stop feeling like survival behaviors. They start feeling like identity. I am too needy. I ruin relationships. I always choose the wrong people. I am just anxious. But those identities are often formed after years of emotional adaptation. The identity came after the survival pattern, not before it. And once you finally understand that, something begins to shift. Not instantly, not dramatically, but quietly. You begin noticing emotional attraction before automatically obeying it. You begin separating intensity from intimacy, attention from love, relief from safety. You begin realizing that emotional familiarity is not the same thing as emotional truth. That realization changes people, because awareness creates distance, and distance interrupts repetition. For the first time, you begin seeing the pattern while it is happening instead of only after it destroys you. That is where real change actually begins. Not when attraction disappears, but when attraction stops controlling your interpretation of reality. Because emotions are not always signals of truth. Sometimes they are echoes of survival, and survival repeats itself until it becomes conscious. That is why breaking toxic patterns feels emotionally unnatural at first. You are not only changing behavior, you are disrupting emotional familiarity. You are teaching yourself that love does not need to feel unstable in order to feel real, that closeness does not need to be earned through emotional exhaustion, that emotional safety is not weakness. For some people, that realization arrives suddenly. For others, it arrives slowly, quietly, like light entering a room you forgot was dark. But eventually, you begin understanding something important. You were never repeatedly choosing pain because you loved suffering. You were choosing emotional environments your mind had been trained to recognize as connection. And once you finally see the pattern clearly, the illusion weakens. The relationship stops looking magical. It starts looking familiar, and familiarity is not the same thing as love. Sometimes the most uncomfortable truth is this. You are not chasing people, you are chasing emotional environments that once taught you how to survive. And until that becomes conscious, the pattern keeps repeating itself. Not because you are broken, because your mind was trying to return to what it already understood, even when it hurt you, even when it emptied you, even when it slowly convinced you that emotional pain was the closest thing to love.